Good morning, friends. I'm Lex Cummings, the community intern here at Open Circle. And at Open Circle, we share practices that help us to discover that all of life is practice. And this week, our practice is being guided by Greg Mutch. Greg loves riddles, jokes, and being surrounded by powerful women. He's a mindfulness teacher and a leadership coach, and he is also a former pastor and hospice chaplain. Greg is rooted in two core values of authenticity and aliveness that seeks both what is real and shakes us awake to the wonder of ourselves and the world we inhabit. Welcome, Greg. Take it away.
Thank you. That bio plays much better on our website when you see me surrounded by the powerful women that I work with. But I also love being around the powerful women in my home, specifically my daughter, who turns 9 tomorrow, is one of the most powerful women I know. Okay, I want to share a few framing thoughts before we get into our practice. And as we come, I know we're just coming out of swimming season, but a really important question for you to consider is, are you more of a tiptoe, ease into the shallow end of the pool kind of person, or are you a cannonballer? I'm going to circle back to this in a minute, but any kind of practice, a mindfulness practice, a listening practice, prayer practice, contemplative practice, these can be really hard. And one of the reasons they're hard is really just sort of because of the culture we grow up in. And in the West, for most of us who grew up in the West, we're very much a cannonballing culture. We just jump in. We get in and we want it to be wet and cold and ready to go. And we want that for our practices as well. But oftentimes what that does is creates a bit of a frustration and challenge for us. And so I want to read a quick paragraph just to offer a little bit of explanation around what's going on with that. On the one hand, we are an externally oriented society. We value action rather than contemplation. Attached to thinking as our primary way of meaning making, we're invested in the enhancement of the self, wanting quick results to be accomplished through striving, with a miasma of unworthiness woven through the psyche. On the other hand, and we're going to talk about sort of Eastern culture, mindfulness instructions and teachings arose in a culture internally oriented, valuing contemplation over action, viewing mindfulness as more central than thinking, and less invested in self-development, emphasizing gradual development and meditation with a psychological underpinning of fundamental worthiness. And so you can see in the East where these practices of contemplation, we sort of grow up into them naturally and we understand how to land in them. And in the West, it can be frustrating because we want to do these practices and we show up to them and our psyche is not quite ready for them. We cannonball in. So what I want to offer is from some guideposts from a book called The Meditator's Dilemma around how do we create a healthy, positive, kind of holding environment from which our practices can kind of root into, rather than just rushing in and jumping on a cushion or on a mat or on the couch for our practice. What can we do to get us into the practice? And so that will sort of be the movements we take through our meditation practice this morning. The movements are going to be these: relaxation, playfulness and delight, gratitude and wonder, and warmth and tenderness. And then we will end those 4 movements with another reading and the sound of the bell. So if you're ready, I know that you guys are well versed in preparing to sit and to be in practice. Matt already got us ready that way one time. So I'll invite you to do the same. Find yourself into a posture where you can be engaged, alert, but also relaxed and open. I'll ring the bell and then we'll begin. Those 4 movements with another reading and the sound of the bell. If you can find yourself in this comfortable sitting posture, and one of the things that we do is that we come unrelaxed, and a practice is going to be served by being a little more relaxed. And you can do some vigorous exercise before your practice. You can do a practice of tensing up your body and letting it relax. What I'm going to invite you to do today is to wrap your arms around yourself and give yourself the tightest hug. So this is something the kids can do and the adults can do. And so just put your arms around yourself and squeeze for a good 10 or 20 seconds as hard as you can. Squeeze your legs and your toes and your whole core and your body, and squeeze as much as you can. And when you can't squeeze anymore, let it go, and then just put your hands in your lap. And notice your breath. And just breathe gently and see if there's anywhere in your body you can bring a little more relaxation. You can soften your shoulders. A lot of us might feel our jaws clenched and the tongue sort of stuck to the roof of our mouth. See if you can let those relax, soften the forehead, sink into your seat. Feeling your hands open in your lap, creating a sense of openness and relaxation. And in this way, we can show up to our practice a little more prepared, a little more ready. Oftentimes we are like a water bottle rolling across the ground and hitting the curb. And while the body stops, the contents of our mind and our thoughts and our body keeps swirling around like that water. This relaxation practice can help to calm that down. The next move that we want to make in creating a kind of environment that we can settle into is around playfulness and delight. A couple of years ago, I spent some time on a 9-day silent retreat, and it was like walking around with zombies because everybody was so stern and serious in their faces. And I just began to kind of play with the idea of smiling even while holding silence. And so I invite you to do that now too, just while you sit here. And maybe even moving your hands from kind of this open posture to like rubbing together slightly, sort of sense of like playfulness and closeness. And if you can just bring a gentle smile to your face while you sit here in silence, just gently turning the corners up of your mouth and noticing what that sensation is like and how that can lift even the mood and the spirit. Might be helpful to have sort of cultivated up a few memories that bring you delight. What is something recently that you've done where you were just laughing uncontrollably? Can you let in that memory? Can you hold it in your mind's eye just for a couple of moments? Remembering the body sensations, remembering what sparked it, remembering why it felt so good. By remembering these moments and bringing in some playfulness and delight, we begin to cultivate a sense of safety and belonging to ourselves, where our practice can be rooted. And as we move through these, there's nothing else to do or think about or perform at. We're just breathing in, breathing out, and then using these movements to prepare us for whatever the prayer or contemplation or meditation practice is going to be. The third kind of pillar or anchor here is around gratitude and wonder. So I want you just to bring to mind someone for whom you're really grateful for. Maybe somebody that loves you, somebody that is celebrating a life moment, and you're really grateful for that person. maybe somebody who's sitting right next to you. Who's somebody for whom you are grateful for their life? And just reflect on them and honor them with your gratitude. In addition to gratitude, maybe an element of wonder. Can you think of a time in your life when you were just awestruck? Maybe it was something in nature that you witnessed, something you saw. Maybe it was sitting, laying in the grass and viewing the canopy of the stars and just being awestruck by the wonder that that brings. Maybe it was the birth of a child or anything at all that cultivated in you just a sense of amazement and wonder. I want you to not just note that memory, but try to be back in the experience of that thing. What was it that amazed you, that opened you up, that surprised you? Was it the beauty, the size, the grandeur? Where were you? What was going on? Were there other people there with you? What emotions did that evoke in you? Who did you share it with? Just being with these kind of moments of gratitude and these memories of wonder pull us in and create a space where we can more fully practice from. We can tiptoe in with some ease. And finally, the anchor of warmth and tenderness. And at a time when we are feeling a lot of uncertainty, a lot of disconnection, a lot of maybe even anxiety and fear, this one seems really, really important. So here I'd ask you to even put your hand on your heart. Even that physical activity, that move, can create a kind of warmth and tenderness towards yourself. Or maybe you're with a loved one and maybe you just want to hold hands or sit shoulder to shoulder, create some physical contact. And then receive these statements. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. And may I be loved. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. And may I be loved. These are the four components of cultivating an environment for our practice. You don't have to do all of them every time, but as you practice these elements, using them to sort of be the on-ramp into a practice, it can reduce the level of frustration we experience with our practices. So I'm going to give us a minute just here of silence. I'll offer a reading for which we should be more ready to hear, having prepared ourselves with this environment. The safest and most nurturing place to begin working this way is during sitting meditation. On the cushion, we begin to get the hang of not indulging or repressing and of what it feels like to let the energy just be there. That is why it's so good to meditate every single day and to continue to make friends with our hopes and our fears again and again. This sows the seeds that enable us to be more awake in the midst of everyday chaos. It's a gradual awakening and it's cumulative. But that's exactly what happens. We don't sit in meditation to become good meditators. We sit in meditation so that we'll be more awake in our lives. This sows the seed that enable us to be more awake in the midst of everyday chaos. It's a gradual awakening and it's cumulative. But that's actually what happens. We don't sit in meditation to become good meditators. We sit in meditation so that we will be more awake in our lives.